Welcome. So this is our first live stream session for Spakra. I'm one of the hosts, Ron Hill, and this is Loris over here. So we're going to be hosting live stream sessions every Wednesday for our community members so that we can cover specific topics. This first one is going to be a little bit of a test run. We just want to run through some topics covering security principles, practices, and if we have time, we may cover a little bit of monitoring. And then basically how we want these to go is we'll cover our topics. We may answer a few questions, but we like most of the questions to stay for the end. And then if there's any additional questions after that, then we'll cover those on an additional live stream, or we can reach out to people individually.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll record this meeting. So basically, it will be available online afterwards. So, and I don't know, should we start now? We still have 2 minutes before actually, we should start. So people will be jumping in.
Exactly.
So
yeah, plan is we're gonna be eventually live streaming on our YouTube channel so that we can have multiple platforms where people can access this. And then, like Laura said, we'll be recording this, and then this will be available for anybody that can't make it during the live stream. So what's our agenda for today?
So our agenda is talking a little bit about security, like overall security for Cardano nodes. So what should we do? What kind of, security measures we should implement on our block producing nodes, relay nodes, and also I think we'll touch a little bit about security of the keys, so the best practices. And yeah, that's actually for our first topics, which actually are most important ones. As Spokra is always there for setting some standards. What should be done and how you should secure your node, because this again is very important for wall network, and yeah, that's why we'll be doing these topics, not only about security. So let's see what people are more interested. We can also have some guests to cover some extra specific topics. And also if there are any questions, then as always you can join on our messaging board or on our spokra.io, just connect there, and then we can answer your questions or set up some new additional workshop for these kind of specific tasks. Today we'll be just discussing overall, because it's the security topic is actually quite large, vast, and that's why we can give you some ideas where to start. And if you have some questions, you can always jump in any of the forums, in any groups, chat groups on our board, and or ask us directly, and we will guide you. So you have like some kind of understanding where to start at least. So because this topic is we have received a lot of questions, and yeah, so let's just cover overall situation. Not situation, but basically what you should implement on your servers. So, and after let's say our monologues or dialogues, let's have also open some kind of microphone where we can share some experience, maybe some ideas how to even improve the security. So yeah, we are open always for discussions, and would love to hear some insider stories and yeah, how you guys are doing regarding this. Cool. Exactly. So let's then maybe dive in.
Even have time for if you do get a block producer node hacked, or God forbid something like that happen, what do you do in that situation? So after we cover through just like the broad stroke of the basic security principles and practices that you want to implement on your own stateful operation, then we'll see if we can get to that as well.
Yeah, of course. And so we'll be going through like basically what we are doing on daily, as our daily workflow, basically, when we set up a new node. So what we are, how we are approaching this step by step, but basically, yeah, like checkpoints, which should be good if you could implement all of them, or at least some of them. But start is step by step and yeah, move forward. Okay, so let's start covering these topics. And of course, as we are using, for our block producing nodes and relay nodes, it's Linux. Now we are using Linux. Ideally, it's a Linux, some kind of minimal version. So, for example, I prefer, Ubuntu, so this minimal version, which basically means that you have like least packages installed. It's like only the necessary things which you really need to boot up the server, and therefore, there are no extra packages, which sometimes is good, but sometimes, of course, it's annoying with it. But anyway, when you install the relay or blockers, you have like step-by-step guide anyway. If you don't know how to do that, of course, on Spoker, you can, join one of the groups where basically we have like a manual for you to also, simple one. So we are trying not to use any tools which we don't need. Because the server should be like leadership. So basically, there's nothing more than just for it to run. So that's why whenever you start to install, my suggestion is always use some kind of minimal package, install that, and then from that, just add the packages which you will be needing. So first things first, when you install also, of course, when the server is running. So first security measures is of course disabling root. So you don't need like root user there. Usually we'll be creating some additional. I know that Ubuntu has usually the Ubuntu user there. If you are running on Amazon IDS, so then I think they have their own some kind of user set up. So there's no like root user by default. And if you are running, your own hardware, then definitely, one of the first things would be, adding some new user, giving it sudo rights. So basically, so you can run root commands. And by default,
really quick, Loris, just for people that aren't familiar with Linux, so running in root is basically giving full admin rights to everything. So when you say running sudo, that means like supervisor command, which is like you can override any admin right privileges that are set up. So that's why you want to run with your own user instead of a root user.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. We don't want that people connecting directly to the root user and they can do anything,
Exactly.
So that's why you should, it's like, in Windows stations, usually, it's not advisable to run as an administrator. So basically you could just run as some kind of user, and then you just type in the administrator password and administrator user and execute some kind of commands. So this is something similar on Linux. And yeah, this is, basically the main things, which you should do. It's like, I think a lot of already, some kind of VPS, and basically when you install something, run a new VPS, so basically they already by default are usually disabling the root user and giving you some additional user. So, but if you are using your own hardware and installing from scratch, then it could be that you still have the root user. But yeah, so this is the first one, create your new user, add it to sudo group. If you don't know, just Google it. And then just disable, so you can connect to the server with root user. So that's, first thing first. And then next thing, to more enhance the security, I would also add two-factor authentication for login. So basically, Google, they have this package which you can install. It's very simple to install, and you can have, two-factor authentication on your phone. So it means whenever you connect to the server, it will ask additionally, to login credentials. It will ask also your two-factor authentication code, and which is again, very secure. So it means, if even somebody steals your password, which we'll discuss regarding passwords a little bit later. So still, you have, additional device, which, is with you always. So even, somebody gets access to your computer where you have stored your keys, like, for logging into your server, they still will need, your phone to connect. So that's also, extra layer of security, which is great. It's, of course, sometimes annoying that you have to enter the two-factor authentication, but, it's really good practice, especially on production servers to install that and run it. And it's yeah, it's easy. You know, it's like if you're using already on other services, then shouldn't be an issue there.
And just to add on to that, Loris, if you don't want to use your phone to have two-factor authentication, there's also hardware devices like a YubiKey that you can use as well. That's a really good method that I use. So that is an option as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of lot of other you can use also smart card if you want. It would be trickier with a remote because with those devices, this physical device which you have to plug in, then basically it means you have to actually plug in your servers, and then that's so. If you have a remote, then a two-factor authentication or any authentication method which requires that you have your own device, separate device, which you don't have to plug in server, will work fine. So because the USB forwarding is a tricky part. But if you have at home, then yes, hardware keys which you have to plug in, fine. YubiKey, press the key there and it will log in. So that's also a good thing to have. So next, so when you have that set up, so then also think about removing the password. So it means that you don't have like a simple password, guessable password, because unfortunately those are easy to guess sometimes. So you actually use keys. So private key, public key to connect to your server. So you generate one. We have also, I think I have done tutorials on that as well. So basically you generate keys instead of passwords because those are not basically guessable. So that means only way for attacker to gain access is that they basically hack your computer and get the key. Otherwise, it's basically not possible to guess, at least in our days. So that's also additional security feature, which makes your server more secure. And yeah, so that helps a lot because then somebody who wants to hack, they have to get your phone or device. They have to get into your computer. So and this is already pretty hard to hack. So for people who want extra layer security, because when we are discussing, it depends where you put your computer. It's if you have like hosting data center, this is additional things which you can discuss there. Like Google allows to encrypt also hardwares. If you're having your home-based computer, so then definitely you can encrypt your hard drive, which is additional secure way. The only downside by default, not downside yet, by default that actually the simplest ones will need that you enter from your keyboard the password for decrypting the hard disk. So it's quite hard to implement the standard packages if you have like a small data center in I don't know, somewhere in basement. You have to go down there to enter. But yeah, but there are options how to do it remotely as well, with the tricky ones. I know data centers also allow to encrypt with some kind of keys which they store. Either you provide them the key or they use some unique key there for encrypting the hardware. So if somebody steals your hard drive, it's still not accessible directly. So they need additional they need this password to decrypt. So this is already really fancy way to secure server. But if you have phone, then I would think that's a default one which you do. It's not an issue to encrypt the disk. It's of course you lose some space there, but you don't have to worry that some burger will come in basically take your hard drive and then will access it from another device. So that's a good practice also if you have a home-based computer. So these are the first things which you would do to secure the access to your computers. So,
hey, Loris, can I ask a quick question? Sorry,
yeah, sure.
I'm trying to understand how the YubiKey, because I've never used them before. So I have public-private keys set up so I can log in. So I have bare metal set up here at my house, and I have ED2 5519 keys to log in. But I don't understand how the YubiKey fits in with the public-private key setup, or can you use those in conjunction, or how how did those two sort of work together, or maybe they don't work together. I guess I'm just confused at how those two would interact.
So YubiKey actually is quite versatile. So it means, there are a lot of packages how you can use it. One is that you basically have this, when you just, instead of password, they have like these keys on the YubiKey. I understood. I haven't used it for logging in. I have used it on different other things. Because most of my servers is, somewhere remote, either in data centers. But if you just look, I remember there was YubiKey. Let me see, YubiKey.
Yeah, I think John. So are you asking if you can use that for private and public keys or something, or because what I use it for is for logging in. So it kind of is. To me, it kind of works like a ledger device. Like when I'm it doesn't store my public and private key like a ledger device, but I mean, when I'm logging into like Ledger Live, I have to plug it in and it kind of works like that. And then when I'm SSHing into my server, like that's how I access my password. So I think, were you asking like kind of how do you use it in a way that
Yeah, so I guess it's more of if it's kind of the equivalent of call it a hardware password manager, right?
Right.
But if you have public private keys and you have passwords disabled for logging into, your server, then it doesn't really help with that, right? Because right now I have passwords disabled, so the only way I can get into my bare metal server is basically through that public-private key setup.
So
I'm just trying to
already found on YubiKey. So YubiKey with OpenPGP can be used for logging to remote SSH servers. So basically, the authentication subkey of OpenPGP is used as an SSH key. So therefore, you can use also in that way.
Oh, so you can use it as kind of like a public private key setup.
Yeah, because YubiKey is super versatile, so you can do a lot of things with them. I'm using only Scratch, like really for extra layer security on exchanges or whatever, where you need when you withdrawals, do withdrawals, then basically it requires my YubiKey or for some kind of things, then you can use it. It's extra layer of security, but not only you use two-factor authentication, but YubiKey. So, but yeah,
I'm gonna have
YubiKey
to explore that a little bit. I haven't really done more than just like the password, like two-factor authentication, but I think that's a good idea.
It has a lot of features. It's like you paid a lot of actually for YubiKey, just for use it like this password manager. But actually for YubiKey also, I remember there was that you basically use your authentication. For example, in my phone, there is YubiKey application, similar like Google authentication, which requires that you stick in the YubiKey in the phone before it will basically allow to use those codes. It's like, again, it's also an option, how to use it. But yeah, YubiKey is a super versatile. So it's a lot of things you can do with that, and people are getting more creative with that.
Huh.
That could be a topic for another live stream session, possibly.
Yeah. So, but I'm not, as I said, I'm a light user of that. So, but I think it would be interesting to have somebody, who has, a lot of experience and getting into this.
Yeah, because I've always looked at those YubiKeys, but I haven't really figured out exactly how to use them or how to sort of best implement some of these security features with it. So yeah, I agree. That'd be a great topic if somebody knows a YubiKey expert.
Yeah. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm also checking meanwhile, some GitHub on OpenPGP access with YubiKey. So it's actually a very interesting topic, and I think it will be extra security. But the only downside is that you have to plug in the key in the server. So if you have bare metal at home, perfect, you can do that. If not, then I think it will not be usable. At least not as a SSH key. Okay, cool. Let's write down one topic to explore, and maybe get somebody who can explain a bit more. So okay, so when we are securing the user, so the next step, of course, is starting to secure also overall machine by adding firewall. So this is very important. If you usually use some DigitalOcean or Google Cloud or Amazon, usually they have already their own firewall implemented. So and by default you will have access only to SSH and web, even in some cases not web. So you have to add. But if you don't have, you have the bare metal, and of course use internal some firewalls. So this is also important, and just leave like open ports which you need, like for Cardano. It depends on which port you're running. So for production servers, I would even suggest that even for SSH, you have like set up some IP addresses which can connect to the server, and others are just rejected. And I would suggest to have like at least 3 IP addresses, just in case your provider decides to change your IP address or something else happens. So you're not locked out from your server. Again, if you are using some Google Cloud or DigitalOcean or whatever, then it's easier because the firewall is basically you have like the web interface for firewall, and you can change the IP address whenever you need. On others, where you have like dedicated servers, usually you have to set it on the server by itself. But this is also very good practice to lock up, basically don't have open ports. So you know that what happens and what kind of open ports you have there, so you don't have to worry that there's something else. Yeah, that's basically the rundown of the things which basically I'm usually doing when I start new server, and then I implement these as things first, and then I'm focusing on starting to doing some additional installations. So before that, I have I secure my server. I think that
these are things first that you would just consider like the bare minimum that you have to cover for security, right?
These are basically minimal, but at the same time it's secure enough already. So it's like for the production server, if you have closed all, you don't have extra applications running, you have firewall in place, you have disabled the root login, you have disabled password access, so you have only keys using SSH keys. So and so have some user with sudo rights, then it's already like quite secure. Then the next thing only is your education, so you don't accidentally do some stupid things. So that's why this is secure enough for you to run secure Cardano relay and block reducing node. And also there's another thing. So as Cardano, and overall the idea how we are running the nodes, it's already they have thought about the security as well. So if you have experience with running different nodes, then you will see the huge difference how Cardano HK basically approaches and thought about how to run the nodes. And that's why they implemented also the hotkeys and cold keys. So this is also very important to understand that on your production servers, so these servers which are live, relays and block reducing nodes, you will not have, basically on relays, you don't have anything there. No keys. On block reducing nodes, you have only the hotkeys. And the benefit of that even if you get hacked, so this is also very important. Some people are asking, okay, what to do if something happens, if you have done correctly and you have only these hotkeys on your server, so then actually it's nothing they have do much there. So basically what happens, what you can do is just stop that server, basically delete everything and install from scratch and generate new hotkeys. So as long your cold keys are secure on your home PC, on your home offline PC, then you are good to go. So basically you just change the keys, yeah, install everything from scratch, and just run it, and that's it. There's actually not much the hackers can do. Even if they, attack your relays, there's nothing. Okay, they can kill the relay, but that's it. If they manage to get to your block producing node, because to get to your block producing node, they have to either guess the IP address where the server is placed, or they have to hack into your relay and find it in topology, this file, where is your relay, not relay, but block producing, and then attack that. And if you have different keys for those servers, which you should have, then it's again, it's really hard work, and the benefits are basically none. So because when even they hack your block producing node, the only thing they can do is basically mess up your your pool for I don't know, maximum 90 days, because after 90 days you're forced to change the keys anyway, even if you didn't notice that something is wrong with your server. So but yeah, so that's again, you create new keys, secure your server, reinstall everything, and you should be, fine to go again. So that's why.
On the topic of getting hacked, Loris, would you say that would it also be a good practice to delete your bash history just in case you did get hacked? Somebody can't review what you've been doing and possibly find something that is sensitive that they could use.
There's not much sensitive information, at least shouldn't be, because only thing that they can see is either you compiled on the server the binary and added, some, files or changed the configuration. Or in my case, so basically I'm doing the compilation on a local server. So those systems are identical, basically, except the CPU count or whatever. And I can copy the binary files directly to my production servers, and there's nothing much you'll see. There will be a binary folder and a key folder and configuration folder, and
at the very least, even if there's nothing sensitive, I mean, if you review it regularly, you can see if there's activity that you didn't do as a way of understanding if somebody did hack your.
Yeah, so this is an additional feature which we can discuss, and what I have implemented on my servers, it's monitoring, and this additional topics which we can cover, because this is also very important. If you are serious about your server, then you will set up monitoring, which will not only monitor the node performance, how it goes, is the CPU not maxed out, memory is there, swap space there, is it enough, hard disk space there for you to, that node doesn't die, and also we'll check if the process is running. So, for example, I'll also check the process and all the parameters checking also, of course, Prometheus data which are coming in. So checking, log size, if it's growing, so if everything going well. Then there's, this is only for the node, but for the security, you do also adding, if the password file has changed, if there's a new user logged in, usually, if somebody logs in or if I log in the server, I will get notification, to my Telegram, so that there's just user logged in. So I'm using Prometheus as a data source for monitoring the node. And then I'm using Zabbix, which is open source monitor, basically for monitoring not only the node, but also all the security parameters. So it also warns me in advance that you will be running out of disk space in 24 hours, because it automatically calculates how much space you need. It will warn, okay, listen, your swap size is increasing, so or memory. And if somebody logs in, if some change, you can specify some specific files which you can monitor for changes. Yeah, so so that's you can set up these things on your production servers, and it will monitor all the activities. So I don't have to go to server and check, but it will do it automatically and warn me if something goes. Now, if you have a lot of servers, then definitely it's good to have. If people, I see that people love to now have a lot of relays, and then if you have 4 or 5 relays, and then you have block producing node, If you have something else there, then of course, it makes sense, to have some additional server for monitoring. And it shouldn't be like some huge server. I think for I even, using some basic 1 CPU, 4 gigs server, and I still, use and I have like I have these Zabbix there. I have actually also installed local Grafana. So sometimes it's nice to see like a graphical view of everything. It's more advanced than Zabbix, so I have it there. So I don't like to, open port for Grafana to the public Grafana, which you can use, of course, but it means then you have to open port for accessing your Prometheus data, so which is not good.
And speaking of ports, Loris, to port in on another topic, we got a question in chat about ports.
Okay.
The question is, what ports need to be open on the block producer? Can it be in a private network behind your relays?
Yes. So first things first, it can be in your private relay, in private network. So it doesn't have to have a public IP address. So, and this is the best actually way how to do it. So the public address should, you should have only your relays, and then if they are in the same network, ideally, perfect, then just, they are talking each other. So if you have also like a Google Cloud or DigitalOcean or whatever, VPS service, you will be basically putting, block producing, in a local network, and they'll be accessing, through local IP addresses, and you don't need, public IP address for the relay, for the block producing node. Only thing that it means that you have to set up additional server to access, that block producing node through other, server, which is not an issue. Because if you have set everything right, you will need only, to connect your server whenever you need an upgrade. So that's upgrade or updates. So also regarding updates, it's good to have automated them. So there are several ways how to do that. So you can also Ubuntu, if you're using Ubuntu, then they have this, what was the name? Fell out of my head. They have this service which you basically can use, so it can update your servers when they're running live. So that's a cool feature. And I think for 3 servers, they're even without extra cost, so it's for free. So you can try that. So it's very good, practice to have, regular updates. And yeah, so that's, I think, covers also that. So yeah, the ideal even, configurations that you have on the in local network.
There for us to be able to automate this moving forward. This looks good to me, unless anyone from the Strata team has other clarification.
Say that again.
Oh, yep. No, I think we're good here. We'll commit to this.
I think somebody's talking to somebody else there.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute you for now. Sorry about that, guys. So Loris, to go back, you touched a little bit on what to do if your block producer does happen to get hacked. So you mentioned that you'd be able to, after 90 days, you'd be able to change the keys anyway. But can you touch a little bit more on what you should do in case that does happen?
Yeah, of course. The most important thing is to to find it out. So it's like because if somebody messed up with your servers, then of course if you haven't noticed that, then they can of course exploit it somehow. But same time you will notice if something goes wrong. So if you have like running leader logs, so that you have to produce block and something happens, then next thing what I'm usually doing, I'm connecting to the server and checking the log files. So what happened? So why I didn't make a block? And then you will see, if something went wrong, then you will see that in the log files. But yeah, if you feel that something is wrong, then basically, yeah, shut down the server, create a new one, install everything from scratch, and try to figure, how it happened. So that's why, basically you can boot up later on that server, which was hacked, and figure out, what's going on, stop all the services, remove the keys, and generate new keys. So anyway, if somebody stole those keys and is running somewhere else, the node with the same keys, so the keys will be ignored. because there will be already another server with newer keys, pressure keys, and or the block basically chain will ignore the keys with lower case counter number. So that's why as soon as you have hacked, just boot up a new server, generate new keys, push them there, then you hit hotkeys, and you are good to go.
So what is good best practices for managing cold keys?
Oh, that's another huge topic actually. So one of the best practices is to have I don't see it. Let me try to figure out. I don't see. It's of course hardware wallets. So these are which you can buy, and it's cheap, and they're super secure. So even in nowadays you can even have you can also, if you creating new pool now, you can also have the pool keys on this one. So this is super secure. So then somebody has to steal your hardware wallet, or at least the passphrase or seed words to it. So therefore it's secure, but I will maybe touch also how to make even more secure the ledger or trezor, whatever you're using. So yeah, so the most secure way is of course using offline PC. So you some computer which you dedicate for the Cardano, for the hotkeys, which is not connected to internet. And nowadays you can use offline scripts. So it means to generate the transaction on offline PC, and then on the live PC you can submit those transactions. So there, one of the simplest ways is to use stateful operator scripts, which is done by Martin at Tadapool. So he has created scripts which allow you fairly simple to generate everything offline, and then put it on USB key and put it on live PC, and just submit those transactions. So your cold keys are not exposed to online. And additionally, if you use hardware wallet, then it's super secure. So I can't imagine what will happen. So regarding hardware wallets, so maybe, did you have a question regarding the offline PC?
No, I think Loris, sorry, I joined unmuted. There's another meeting going on. But that's exactly what we are doing, Loris and Ron. We have like a cold machine. We run Ada Moon Pool, right? And then we have a cold machine as you described, and we use a hardware wallet for our pledge. And I think we use the CLI wallet only for registration. So only your 500 ADA coins, which you need for registration, are at risk, which is a minimal risk compared to the other pledge, like the larger pledge, which you have, which you use to basically, pledge your coins and stuff. So we go use that for hardware wallet for basically signing the transactions. As you said, exactly, like offline, it's a little bit of pain. I understand to go through that process to, first you need to do it on the online machine and then move it across to the offline and then sign it and then take it back and then submit the transaction. So it's a little bit of a process, but security is more important, right? So I think that's why we don't mind doing that. Yeah.
So it's a peace of mind, if you have done everything and that hardware wallet is there. So it's really helpful. So actually, Sorry,
Loris. I just wanted to say one more thing, and what we are doing is also our BP is not exposed to the public internet. It's completely private because BP doesn't require internet, I guess, right? I believe, right? Because we also actually minted a block last 270, I think 271. Yeah, 271. We minted a block. And our PC was completely offline, meaning our BP was completely offline. All you need is the communication with your relays, right?
Yeah.
And we were able to do that. I believe that's also another security aspect you can think about. to keep your BP not exposed to the public internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so basically it's not on. It's only online in local network. So yeah, so that's a good practice. Not to have
it's only online in local, as you said, right? It's only online in the local network, but the way we access it is we create a jump box, a jump box or a bastion host, it's called. We use that to basically connect to our BP, and whenever the bastion is off, the jump box is off, nobody will have access. Even we will not have access to our own BP, but it's in the background, it's cranking and it's running, right? So that's the setup we have.
That's super cool. So you are using some your own hardware, yes?
No, we are not. We host it on the cloud provider.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so basically, you just use your internal IP, internal network IP, local IPs, and
absolutely,
it works perfectly. You don't need to access publicly. So that's a good thing. So what I wanted to discuss, because a lot of people are asking, and also what to do, because we have like hardware wallet, but I'm afraid that somebody will get my 24 recovery phrase, somewhere where to store it. You can use of course different algorithms. So people are using like splitting in three, in 3 batches. So basically, which is quite unique. So you need actually always two papers, to list of the words to get, to full seed word, these 24 words. And additional feature which I recommend is actually, you can set up additional password on these devices. So which basically you can use 24 standard phrase, this nanoid phrase from BIP 32, I think, and then you can add a custom password, which will even more, make secure. So basically, of course, ideally that somebody knows the password, not only you, but somebody, who you trust. So you have like these 24 words and extra password. And so that's additional feature, which I recommend for people who are afraid that, their 24 phrase this seed word will be, uncovered or whatever. So this is additional feature which you can use. And also, as I mentioned, you can now also put pool keys. Unfortunately, not of course for those who already have registered them and running the pools. But if somebody creates a new pool, then now you can use, even those in marketing script you can use and generate the pool cold keys on this device. So it means it's additional extra security, not only for your pledge, but also for pool. Because if you lose the pool and somebody gets access to your pool cold keys, then they have full access, to your pool, and they can do, everything what they want, generating new keys and basically messing up your business.
I'm curious if anyone would think it would be a good idea to run through some of these things on a terminal, like live shared screen. I was actually thinking about spinning up another pool, just test out some of these things I wasn't able to do, like my first pool.
I did already a workshop on running and setting up. I don't remember if it was with the hardware wallet. I have to check. But for the previous 120, I think 6, I did a YouTube video on setting up the relay node and also then basically setting up BP node on a testnet. So I don't do it on every new release because basically it's the same, just different version number. So that's, I think, would be nice to have, but I wouldn't do that on my mainnet node.
Right.
So So but okay, so that's, I think, covers we went through quickly, tried to go quickly, but anyway, it was 40 minutes. There are a lot of things which you can implement to make secure, but if you do this, you should be, you could sleep very well. It's like not you have to worry about it anymore, because even if you lose, your hardware wallet, you can recover it on any other device. And ideally, have 2 devices. If something happens to one that you can without even waiting for the next device coming in. If you have, especially if you had like hardware wallet keys for your stake pool. Okay, so I think I covered most of the topics which are essential. And yeah, next one is only, being smart and not doing some dumb things. Because that, of course, can compromise your security and your pledge. So we have, like, of course, several cases, when people are not knowing what they're doing. So I think there was one case when somebody worked with I don't think it was, yeah, somebody asked somebody to help basically, to set up a pool with remote control, which is a bad idea. So basically, there's a case when just person asked, okay, can you connect to my server, and I'll be watching what you're doing. So he connected, and unfortunately, he also connected a second connection, which SCP, I think, can just copy the keys, and it was gaining access. The good thing that, of course, the community helped and went through the logs and they discovered that. But still, so my suggestion, if you need help, then it's better that, they can help you, maybe guiding you, and you can tell, okay, I did that, and, get some also, not non-authors, but basically some, respectful people which can help you and guide you. And that, usually all the problems that you encounter are already solved. Somebody already did that. So just, look in the forums, look in chats, I would suggest go in public chats. Even if somebody approached later on directly, if you haven't approached him, then it's better always to solve in the public chat. Don't worry that you are asking maybe some stupid questions, which are not stupid. Basically, these are questions which is always best to ask in public chat, because if somebody, some bad actor will suggest some bad things, there will be 20 people who say, come on, what the fuck are you doing? Sorry for my French. So yeah, so
if Loris, I think if they shadow, I mean, basically if they're giving access to their mainnet pool, they might as well take their coins and delegate to small stake pools. Right? Because I think I believe those kind of skills are. I mean, yes, for us also it was brand new. We haven't done anything like this before. Ada gives you those options, which is pretty amazing. Right. And it was a learning experience for us too. But again, I think you just try things out and learn things, right? And trust me, I think there's not a lot of help available regarding these topics. You go check on forums and stuff like that. Maybe we might put together like an article or something, and maybe share the link and with the architecture and everything, how we have done. And probably that might be helpful for all the other stake pool operators.
So there are already a lot of groups on Telegram, on Discord. There are some groups. We have also our Spoker, basically portal or messaging board. So we have different groups there on separate topics. We have also how to install the node and block producing node. On simple ones, simple in the step-by-step guide. So, but of course you can join and ask questions and people will be answering anyway. So we are monitoring.
Nadim is right though. I mean, when it comes to trying to find this information like readily available, it's not always there. You kind of got to do some digging and especially when you're new, like trying to dig through the weeds and discover like what's the best thing to do. It can be a little difficult. So I think that would be excellent, Nadim, if you provided something like that. That'd be a really good resource. And I mean, overall, like when you think of security, I mean, there's no 100% foolproof method. It's really just like you're just adding all these extra layers to make things a little more difficult, if not impossible, hopefully. And I do
just make it difficult, and choosing other targets. So
right. And if I can boil everything down to like what's probably the most important, would you say that having your cold keys, never touching your pool, like your server that's online, would you say that's like the most important? Because I mean, if you go back to like the biggest hack that we had, with like the happy staking pool. I mean, that was the fault right there. I mean, having the
Of course.
wallet keys like available.
So this is, of course, only, what, when, somebody to hack you, they have to get to the keys. And this is the most important part. If the keys are secure, anything else you can, basically rebuild and start from scratch. And there's actually not much hacker can do, because if you have the cold keys, you can, set up a new server and run it. So therefore, this is the most important thing. I would say, offline PC and hardware wallet, and this will be already, 70% that you will not be hacked. At least 99% that you will be keeping the, the pledge, your ADA secure. So that's, I don't know what should happen. Then somebody has to physically go to your home, and that's actually another topic, to discuss. You don't have to put
and
your
I think even on the cold machine, Loris, what we have done is we are running Ubuntu on the cold machine too, right? And I think what we have done is we have basically put encryption on it as well, right? So even if somebody tries to, come to your house and get your hard drive, or if they steal your computer or something, they will still not be able to access the cold keys, because even that is also encrypted as well. So
that's nowadays, especially, it's quite easy, just adding encryption hardware, a hard disk encryption. So that's, if you have a computer at home that if it's with keys, then definitely that's one thing to do. So you can add even, there are some guys who are putting that you need not only two-factor, but two people authentication, that you need two people to to get
we have implemented that on our servers.
Okay.
At least the ones which are online.
Then you're because what people are now it's a little bit people understand the secure risk and why you should and why you should be caring about the keys. Not long time, 1 year ago, when the ADA price was low, nobody cared. Okay, I have 1,000 ADA. Who cares? It was like it was how much? 100 or approximately $100. It was not nothing. Even if you have more than, it was like to implement some super having extra additional computer, if you have 10,000 ADA, at that time it was not cost effective. Great. Now, of course, it's people understand. Okay, even I recommend for people, to rotate the pledge keys. If they have, still using the CLI, now move towards, moving your pledge to hardware wallet. So that's, the least thing you can do, and it's not super complicated. Of course, you have to do it it's like not a one-shot thing. You have to generate the keys, you have to add them as a pledge, then you have to wait for the actives, and so it's in several epochs work, but still it's a peace of mind when you have on a hardware wallet. That's the best. Even you have strong nerves, and you can leave them on the wallet, but then you will be also a target for somebody.
True.
I think I covered. If anyone has questions, of course, we didn't cover like super technical, but I think we will write down a short rundown of the things which we discussed. Actually, I can copy which I already did here, and then I think we can close this one for today. If anyone wants to add some questions, some comments and have some questions, sure. For those who are watching this as a recorded version, then definitely let's just jump in on our Spokra.io site and just join our groups and ask some questions, or just join on Telegram. There are several good groups which can always there are people who can help you, because Cardano community is awesome. So therefore, no issues. If you can even drop direct messages to us, so it's not an issue. We are responsive. But if you will look around and ask, or do some Google search or Telegram search, or come to our board, you will find definitely some answers, or at least hints where to start. So, okay, that's it from my side.
And if anyone has any suggestions for what they'd like covered next, or if they want us to deep dive into any of the topics that we only just brushed over during this meeting, definitely reach out to us. You can send direct message like Laura said, or just send a general chat, and we'll get back to you. So.
Cool. Okay, guys, so it was a pleasure, talking to you, and it's always nice, that people are taking this, security topic quite seriously. And I see that, some people have implemented maximum security, which is, doable at this stage. And yeah, cool. Thank you, one. Thank you all.
Yeah.
And till the next time.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Nope. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys.